Me regarde et me dit, ben voilà, oh my God, what's happened? Donc, un peu agité.
For nearly 3 decades, the public remained largely unaware of the intricate details surrounding Diana's crash, their understanding limited to the fragmented images captured by the lenses of photographers. It wasn't until now, during Diana's inquest, that firefighter Xavier Gourmelon emerged to offer his testimony, a rare glimpse into the chaos and despair that had unfolded within the confines of the Pont tunnel. Gourmelon finally could break his silence, his decision to speak out spurred by the passage of time and the closure of his career in active duty. Now, just listen to Diana's dramatic final moment at the scene of the accident. On that fateful morning of August 31st, 1997, the streets of Paris were shrouded in an eerie stillness. It was a scene that Xavier Gourmelon, a seasoned firefighter, had witnessed too many times before. A tragic car crash caused by the reckless actions of a drunk driver. As he and his team rushed to the scene, their minds automatically switched to emergency mode, ready to do everything in their power to save lives. Upon arrival, chaos engulfed the site. The wreckage of the car was twisted and mangled, a stark testament to the violent collision that had just occurred. Gourmelon's trained eyes quickly scanned the scene, assessing the situation and determining the best course of action. Amidst the wreckage, he noticed 2 figures slumped inside the vehicle, their forms eerily still amidst the chaos. As his team sprang into action, extricating the occupants of the car with practiced efficiency, Gourmelon's attention was drawn to a blonde woman, her presence incongruous amidst the devastation. At that moment, he couldn't have known the significance of the woman he was helping. To him, she was just another victim in need of aid, a belief that would soon be shattered by the weight of destiny. As Gourmelon approached the woman, he could see that she was alive, though grievously injured. Her breathing was shallow, her features pale with shock and pain. Yet, amidst the turmoil of the crash site, she managed to utter something, a whisper, barely audible above the din of sirens and voices. In that fleeting moment, Gourmelon leaned in, his ears straining to catch her words, his heart heavy with the weight of the tragedy unfolding before him. Little did he know that those whispered words would echo through history, etching themselves into the annals of time. Little did he know that the woman he was helping was none other than Princess Diana, beloved by millions around the world. In her final moments, she reached out, her voice a fragile thread connecting her to the world she was about to leave behind. For Gourmelon, the realization of who he had just assisted would come later, a shocking revelation that would forever bind him to that tragic night. But at that moment, all he could do was focus on the task at hand, channeling all his skill and expertise into providing comfort and aid to the injured woman before him. Let's go back to the moment before the accident. As the clock struck midnight and the city slumbered beneath a blanket of stars, Diana and Dodi never could have anticipated the tragedy that awaited them on the dawn of August 31st. A cruel twist of fate that would shatter their dreams and plunge the world into mourning for the loss of 2 souls whose love burned bright amidst the darkness. With the cloak of darkness enveloping the city like a shroud, Diana, Dodi, and their faithful bodyguard, Trevor Reese Jones, slipped out through the rear entrance of the hotel, their movements shrouded in secrecy. Outside, a sleek black Mercedes S280 awaited them, its sleek lines a beacon of escape amidst the chaos of their public lives. Little did they know that their chosen driver, Henri Paul, harbored a deadly secret, a truth concealed beneath the veneer of professionalism. Unbeknownst to his passengers, Paul had imbibed at least 2 drinks prior to assuming the role of chauffeur, his senses dulled by the insidious allure of alcohol. An analysis conducted in the aftermath of the tragedy revealed that Paul's blood alcohol level was 3 times the legal limit in France, a revelation that would cast a shadow of culpability over the events that unfolded in the dark hours of the morning. But alcohol was not the only factor at play in Henri Paul's state of intoxication. Further investigation revealed that he was also under the influence of medication, a cocktail of substances that further impaired his judgment and motor skills. As Diana, Dodie, and Rhys Jones settled into the plush confines of the Mercedes, Paul's demeanor belied the chaos brewing beneath the surface, a volatile mixture of intoxication and reckless bravado. According to eyewitness accounts, Paul's behavior grew increasingly erratic as they navigated the labyrinthine streets of Paris, his interactions with the paparazzi bordering on the surreal. Taunting the photographers who swarmed around the car like vultures, he reveled in the attention, his exclamations punctuated by a reckless abandon that bordered on madness. Stéphane Darman, a motorcyclist for a photographer, would later recall the chilling spectacle of Paul's behavior, describing him as playing a game with the paparazzi, a deadly game whose stakes would prove to be far higher than anyone could have imagined. With a triumphant shout of, "Lady Di is going to be there in a quarter of an hour," Paul seized control of the wheel, his foot heavy on the accelerator as the Mercedes surged forward into the night. As Princess Diana and Dodi Fayed slipped into the back seat of the sleek black Mercedes, Paul assumed his position behind the wheel, his senses dulled by the toxic embrace of alcohol and medication. Two decoy vehicles, dispatched in a desperate bid to elude the ever-watchful eyes of the paparazzi, flanked the Mercedes, their presence a feeble attempt to shield the couple from prying lenses. But the best-laid plans faltered in the face of Paul's reckless abandon, his impulsive maneuvering betraying their intentions to the relentless horde of photographers who trailed in their wake. With a roar of engines and a flurry of flashing lights, the chase was on, the Mercedes hurtling down the Champs-Élysées at breakneck speed. Despite the paparazzi's desperate attempts to cut them off, Paul remained steadfast behind the wheel, his foot heavy on the accelerator as the city blurred past in a dizzying whirl. But as they approached the tunnel beneath the Pont d'Alma, the cacophony of pursuit faded into insignificance, eclipsed by the looming specter of tragedy that awaited them in the darkness. 3 minutes after the car vanished into the maw of the tunnel, disaster struck with brutal efficiency. In a heartbeat, control slipped from Paul's grasp, the Mercedes careening wildly off course as it hurtled towards an unforgiving fate. In a desperate bid to mitigate the impending catastrophe, Paul turned to Trevor Rhys Jones, his voice tinged with panic as he urged the bodyguard to buckle his seatbelt, a futile gesture that defied the protocol of protection. With a sickening crunch of metal against concrete, the Mercedes collided with a concrete pole beneath the Pont de l'Alma, its momentum transformed into a symphony of destruction. In the aftermath of the crash, chaos reigned supreme, the wreckage of the car a silent testament to the fragility of life amidst the unforgiving currents of fate. As bystanders scrambled to render aid and emergency relief, the call went out to firefighter Xavier Gourmelon, a summons that would thrust him into the heart of darkness, his valiant efforts to save a life forever intertwined with the legacy of tragedy that unfolded on that fateful night. Reflecting on that fateful night, Gourmelon spoke with a mixture of solemnity and resignation, his memories tinged with the weight of regret and the inevitability of fate. For me, this was simply a banal traffic incident. He admitted his words, a stark reminder of the ordinariness that belied the tragedy that had unfolded before his eyes. In the chaos of the crash site, Gourmelon's first encounter with Princess Diana was fleeting, his attention consumed by the urgent task at hand. It was only later, as the gravity of the situation began to sink in, that he realized the true identity of the woman he had been called to assist, a revelation that would forever alter the course of his life and bind him to the memory of a princess lost too soon. Dr. Frédéric Maillet, who happened to be passing by, had already tended to Diana to some extent before Gourmelon's arrival. But in the frenetic rush of the moment, his gaze had been drawn elsewhere, his focus consumed by the urgent need to render aid to those in desperate need of assistance. In the heart of the Parisian night, amidst the chaos and devastation of the Pont de l'Alma tunnel, Xavier Gourmelon and his team of 10 firefighters raced against time, their mission clear: to save lives amidst the wreckage and despair that lay before them. With adrenaline coursing through their veins, they arrived at the crash site in less than 10 minutes, their training and expertise the only armor they had against the specter of death that loomed over them. As they emerged into the eerie glow of emergency lights, Gourmelon's gaze swept across the scene, his instincts honed by years of experience guiding him toward those most in need of aid. With a heavy heart, he acknowledged the grim reality before him. Henri Paul, the driver of the ill-fated Mercedes, had succumbed to his injuries, his life extinguished in the blink of an eye. But amidst the wreckage and despair, hope flickered like a fragile flame, embodied in the form of Dodi Fayed and Trevor Rees-Jones, who still clung to life amidst the twisted metal and shattered glass. With steely determination, Gourmelon and his team sprang into action, their hands and minds working in unison as they fought against the relentless march of time. The bodyguard in the front seat, though conscious, was trapped amidst the wreckage, his features marred by the severity of his injuries. Despite the language barrier that separated them, Gourmelon understood the urgency in Rees-Jones's voice, the desperation and fear that echoed in his cries for Princess Diana. In a testament to his professionalism and compassion, Gourmelon reassured Rees-Jones, his words a soothing balm amidst the chaos that surrounded them. Despite the chaos of the moment, Rees-Jones's concerns for his beloved princess remained paramount, his voice a steady refrain amidst the clamor of the rescue efforts. With a heavy heart, Gourmelon turned his attention to the she that Rees-Jones had called for, a figure shrouded in darkness, her presence a haunting echo of the tragedy that had unfolded before them. As he approached Princess Diana's prone form, his heart clenched with sorrow, his hands trembling with the weight of responsibility. In the dimly lit recesses of the wrecked Mercedes, amidst the twisted metal and shattered glass, Xavier Gourmelon's trained eyes alighted upon a figure shrouded in shadow, a blonde woman lying prone on the floor of the car. In that fleeting moment, amidst the chaos and despair, he sensed a glimmer of hope, a pulse of life that belied the devastation that surrounded them. Approaching her with cautious determination, Gourmelon's gaze swept over the woman's form, his heart quickening with relief as he noted the subtle rise and fall of her chest, a silent testament to the breath of life that still flickered within her. Despite the gravity of the situation, he couldn't help but marvel at the woman's resilience, her spirit unbroken despite the carnage that surrounded her. With practiced hands, Gourmelon assessed the extent of the woman's injuries, his trained eyes noting the slight abrasion on her right shoulder, a minor blemish amidst the wreckage of her shattered world. Taking her hand in his own, he offered words of reassurance, his voice a steady anchor amidst the storm of uncertainty that raged around them. "Be calm and keep still." He murmured his words, a whispered prayer in the darkness, a plea for strength amidst the chaos that threatened to consume them both. In the silence that followed, Gourmelon's presence became a lifeline, a beacon of hope amidst the encroaching darkness. For nearly an hour, Gourmelon remained by the woman's side, his steady presence a source of comfort and solace in the face of overwhelming despair. As he tended to her injuries with gentle care, he sought to assuage her fears, offering words of encouragement and support in the midst of her anguish. It was in those moments of quiet desperation that Princess Diana spoke what may have been her final words, a whispered plea that echoed through the cavernous depths of the wrecked car, a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the inevitability of fate. "My God, what's happened?" she murmured, her voice a fragile thread connecting her to the world she was about to leave behind. In the hushed confines of the car, Gourmelon's heart clenched with sorrow, his own voice silenced by the weight of tragedy that hung heavy in the air. In the end, despite the best efforts of Gourmelon and his team, Princess Diana's fate was sealed, a tragic ending to a life cut short by circumstance and fate. And as she was whisked away to the hospital in an ambulance, her final moments shrouded in mystery and sorrow, Gourmelon could only watch helplessly, his heart heavy with the burden of a loss too profound to bear. With precision and determination, workers wielded an electric chainsaw, its whirring blades slicing through the stubborn metal with relentless efficiency. Amidst the cacophony of noise and chaos, Gourmelon remained by Diana's side, his steady presence a source of comfort amidst the turmoil that surrounded them. "I gave her some oxygen," Gourmelon recalled, his hands moving with practiced ease as he tended to the injured princess. With each passing moment, the urgency of their task grew more acute, the need to extricate Diana from the wreckage becoming increasingly pressing. But as they worked to free her from the confines of the car, tragedy struck once more, a cruel twist of fate that threatened to snuff out the flickering spark of life that remained within Diana's fragile form. In a heartbeat, she ceased to breathe, her body succumbing to the relentless onslaught of trauma and shock. "We are all trained to give first aid," Gourmelon explained, his voice tinged with the weight of responsibility that rested upon his shoulders. With a sense of urgency born of desperation, he sprang into action, his hands moving with practiced precision as he fought to save the life of the princess before him. In a moment that hung suspended in time, Gourmelon's skilled hands worked tirelessly to massage Diana's heart, his efforts fueled by a singular purpose, to breathe life back into the woman who lay before him. And then, in a miracle of modern medicine, Diana's chest rose and fell once more, her breath a fragile whisper amidst the chaos that surrounded them. "As a first responder, you want to save lives. And that's what I thought I had done," Gourmelon reflected, his voice heavy with emotion. And yet, even as Diana's heart beat once more, the battle for her life was far from over. With the urgency of their task weighing heavily upon them, Gourmelon and his team loaded Diana into an ambulance, their hearts heavy with the knowledge that her life hung in the balance. As they raced towards the Pitié-Salpêtrière hospital, the silence of the night was shattered by the blaring sirens of the ambulance, a desperate plea for help in the face of impending tragedy. But as they sped through the darkened streets of Paris, fate intervened once more, dealing a cruel blow to their hopes of salvation. In the back of the ambulance, Diana suffered another heart attack, her fragile body succumbing to the relentless assault of trauma and shock. With a sense of urgency born of desperation, the ambulance screeched to a halt, its doors flung open as medical personnel rushed to Diana's aid. Amidst the chaos of the moment, CPR and defibrillation were administered with frantic urgency, the sound of their efforts a symphony of hope amidst the darkness that threatened to engulf them. As the hands of the clock crept towards the early hours of the morning, Princess Diana's valiant struggle for survival continued amidst the sterile corridors of Pitié-Salpêtrière Hospital. By 1:45 a.m., she had weathered the storm of her second heart attack, her fragile form clinging to life amidst the relentless onslaught of trauma and shock. With each passing moment, the stakes grew higher, the race against time becoming ever more urgent as medical personnel worked tirelessly to save the life of the princess before them. According to The Day Diana Died, Diana arrived at the hospital's hallowed halls around 2:01 a.m., her arrival heralding a flurry of activity as doctors and surgeons sprang into action. In a desperate bid to stave off the specter of death, Diana was swiftly whisked into surgery, her fate hanging in the balance as skilled hands worked tirelessly to stem the tide of internal bleeding that threatened to claim her life. Despite the Herculean efforts of the medical team, however, Diana's condition remained precarious, a fragile thread connecting her to the world she was about to leave behind. In a cruel twist of fate, Princess Diana's valiant struggle would ultimately end in tragedy. Despite receiving a 2-hour cardiac massage and undergoing surgery in a bid to save her life, her body proved unable to withstand the devastating internal injuries she had sustained in the crash. At 4 a.m., amidst the hushed whispers of medical staff and the heavy weight of sorrow that hung in the air, Princess Diana was pronounced dead. A beloved icon lost to the world in a moment of heartbreaking finality. For Xavier Gourmelon, the revelation of Princess Diana's true identity came as a shock, a sudden realization that transformed the mundane into the extraordinary. "I had no idea then that it was Princess Diana," he admitted, his words tinged with disbelief. "It was only when she had been put into the ambulance that one of the paramedics told me it was her." In the wake of the tragedy, Gourmelon returned to his wife with a heavy heart. The weight of the news he carried a burden too heavy to bear. "I was so shocked," he confessed, his voice trembling with emotion. "I knew who she was, but I don't follow British royalty closely. I went to the ambulance and looked in, and that's when I recognized her. A luminous figure shrouded in darkness, her presence a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the fleeting nature of fame. As far as I knew when she was in the ambulance, she was alive, and I expected her to live." He confessed his words a testament to the unwavering optimism that had guided his actions in the face of overwhelming despair. Yet, even as he clung to hope, the reality of the situation loomed large, a fragile thread connecting Diana to the world she was about to leave behind. In the aftermath of the tragedy, Gourmelon returned to the fire station where he was working a double weekend shift, the weight of the events that had transpired weighing heavily upon him. It was there, amidst the familiar surroundings of duty and camaraderie, that he learned the devastating truth, a truth that would shatter the fragile illusion of hope that had sustained him in the dark hours of the night. Bodyguard Trevor Rees-Jones was the sole survivor of the incident, his miraculous escape a beacon of hope amidst the darkness that had descended upon them all. Dodi Fayed, Diana's beloved companion, had succumbed to a heart attack at the scene of the crash, his life extinguished in the blink of an eye. For Gourmelon, the burden of silence weighed heavily upon him, a solemn vow of secrecy that bound him to the events of that fateful night with unyielding resolve. As a fireman and a member of the French military, he was forbidden to reveal anything about the incident, his lips sealed by the weight of duty and the solemnity of his oath. For over 2 decades, Gourmelon kept his story hidden from the world, his memories of that tragic night a closely guarded secret. It wasn't until he had left the service that he finally broke his silence, his decision to speak out, spurred by a desire to shed light on the events that had haunted him for so long. Today, Gourmelon resides in his hometown of Brittany, where he serves as the head of emergency services at Brest Airport. Despite the passage of time, the memories of that fateful night continue to linger, their weight a burden he carries with him always, a reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring legacy of Princess Diana's tragic passing. In the wake of Princess Diana's tragic passing, a wave of grief swept across the United Kingdom, engulfing the nation in a tidal wave of sorrow and mourning. From the bustling streets of London to the quiet lanes of the countryside, the people of Britain spared no expense in honoring the memory of their beloved people's princess. Floral tributes adorned the gates of Kensington Palace, a poignant symbol of the outpouring of love and affection that Diana had inspired in the hearts of millions. Streets overflowed with bouquets of flowers and heartfelt messages, each a testament to the enduring legacy of a woman who had captured the imagination of a nation. The week after her death was phenomenal, and the scenes at her funeral were amazing, Xavier Gourmelon recalled. his voice tinged with a mixture of awe and sadness. "I suppose it is all because of the imagination which the princess captured in people." Indeed, Diana's untimely passing touched the lives of countless individuals, uniting them in a shared sense of loss and remembrance. But amidst the outpouring of grief, Gourmelon found himself grappling with the memories of that fateful night, the haunting images that lingered in his mind like ghosts of the past. "I can still picture the whole scene," he confessed, his words a solemn reminder of the enduring impact of that tragic event. "It's something I'll never forget, and that I always think about at this time of year." In Paris, an unofficial monument stands as a somber reminder of the events that transpired beneath the Pont d'Alma, the spot where Diana's car had met its tragic end. For Gourmelon, the site serves as a poignant reminder of the role he played in that fateful night, a memory that continues to haunt him even as the years pass by. Since Diana's death, Gourmelon has received countless calls to the area, each one a stark reminder of the enduring fascination with the princess's legacy. As tourists flock to the site of the crash, seeking to pay their respects to the memory of the beloved princess, Gourmelon finds himself drawn back to that fateful night, the echoes of the past reverberating through the corridors of his mind with each passing day. What do you think about Xavier Gourmelon's revelations about Princess Diana's final moments? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.